I often have to attend lectures on campus about how to teach. And what I always notice about sitting in lecture is that it's pretty boring. A lot of times people will take a nap, use their cell phone and text. I mean, napping's great, but if you're trying to learn, napping is not going to work. So since we're here to try to learn, we need to come up with another way that avoids lecturing as much as possible. So for Biology 160, Bio 160, we're going to do something different. We're going to use something called the flipped classroom. So we've all been to science classes where the teacher stands in front and talks a lot. This is basically lecture. So for what's considered the lecture or discussion parts of Bio 160, we're going to try to do something different. We're going to try to minimize the amount of time someone stands in front of class talking to you so that you can learn more. So everyone comes to college to try to learn something, and it seems like most of our careers, either in high school or college, people are always talking to us at the front of the class, and somehow that's supposed to fill up our brain. Well, research has actually shown that the best ways to learn often are active, where you're the participant. And so this is not something new that we're doing. It's been used a lot in K through 12. But what we're going to do is when we meet 2 times a week in lecture, what we're going to try to do is do a little more discussion and a lot less lecturing. There'll still be some lecturing, but hopefully it'll be done less and less. So how does it work? Well, you're going to spend time at home learning material, basically trying to learn science topics, physiology topics on your own, using lecture notes and lecture videos that we've created to work and complete something called the workbook. A workbook is really just a series of questions, and you can try to answer them. There's lots of opportunities to learn outside the classroom, whether it's on Canvas, on YouTube, or in tutoring sessions with me or TAs. With classmates. So the idea is to learn as much as you can at home, come to class, and then we try to clarify things, learn more, and try to make things make sense. So why is it called the flipped classroom? Well, you've done this before. You go to class, someone lectures, you go home, you study, you do homework, but there's no one there to help you. So how's the flipped model work? Well, it turns it around. Instead of learning at lecture and then going home to work on your homework, we do it different. You try to work on your homework and your workbook before class using lecture notes that I've created, videos that I've created using Google. Then you come to class after you've done this preparation work. For example, how does the heart beat on its own? You can look that up. Then you come to class and we'll talk about how does the heart beat on its own, or maybe you have some questions about how can the heart beat on its own, or how long can it beat. That's what we'll do in class discussion. Maybe there are parts of your workbook that were confusing. That's what we'll do in class. We'll even watch some cool videos and talk about examples that we see in the news. We'll do sample exam questions. This is the time in class where you can make sure you're not confused. So that's why it's called the flipped classroom, because we do things backwards to traditional classes. So again, our goal this semester is not me always talking to you, although that'll happen a lot. The goal really is for you guys and me and all of us to have a discussion when you come to class. So what's the downside of it? The downside of the flipped classroom is that you have to do work outside of class on your own, and that takes a lot of discipline, and our lives are busy. So I've come up with something to help you when you're at home. You have to work on this thing called the lecture workbook, which hopefully you see it here, you've ordered it, you've bought it, and you'll start working and using that outside of class, inside of class. It's really the way that you can work on the material. So here's some examples so you know what we're talking about. Here's some workbooks questions. What part of the eye is responsible for eye color? Again, you can look that up on Google, my lecture notes, textbook, anything would probably have that. The iris is the part of the eye with eye color. It's got some pigments and it helps control the size of the pupil. Maybe a more complex question in your workbook would be explain why your brother and you have different eye color. Well, that's pretty complex, so maybe that's something we want to talk about in class, but you might even be really good on Google and you can look it up. So that's how the workbook would be used this semester. So where do you get the things to work on your workbook? The lecture notes, the lecture videos. Well, those are available on Canvas, and you can see here I'm flipping through some lecture notes that I've created for our very first lecture topic, Introduction to Anatomy and Physiology. So these are questions in your workbook that'll ask you, what is anatomy? What is physiology? You can use the lecture notes. You might like our YouTube videos, so we have preview videos for each lecture that I've created on YouTube. You can get those through Canvas. You can always Google BIO160 in YouTube and Sullivan or BIO160 MCC, and you'll see that there's a whole lecture video, for example, on the eye. And you'll find out, and you can see the iris there, the green color or brown colored structure is the iris. So those are ways that you're going to be able to learn independently on your own. Forget about college lectures. We need to be able to learn on our own in life using YouTube and Google and the internet. It'll help us prepare for learning for life and learning at work, and hopefully it'll be a lot less boring. So that's the design. We're going to practice it, so don't panic if it's new. Maybe you've already been using this in your other courses. So I'll see you guys in class in the first week. We're going to start with this flipped classroom in our lectures. See you guys.